that question as my first question is because my listeners are from Goa and Mangalore.
Oh.
So the radio is called Radio Mango. It's a contraction.
I was wondering.
And it's the first complete radio in its kind in the whole of North America.
Wonderful.
So that's why my question on Goa, how does Goa compare? What expectations did you have of Goa and what did you come away with?
I had many expectations because I remember even in 1985 when I was in Lhasa, Tibet, everybody was talking about Goa. It's the place to be, of course, in the winter. And I spend a lot of time in Dharamsala, and many people in Dharamsala, of course, go back and forth between Dharamsala and Goa.
Yes.
I was amazed to find that my hotel in early January is almost entirely filled with people from Russia. And to be told, as you know, and your listeners know, that there are 4 flights a day or something straight from...
Yes, chartered flights.
Yes, celebrating the Christmas and the beauty of Goa. We were on, I think, what is the only private beach in Goa at the Leela, so that was very, very beautiful to walk along the beach
South
every
Goa,
day.
yes.
Yes. And the time that I spent in North Goa, I was delighted to find that the 1960s were alive and well, and that I was back in my youth in a time capsule.
The hippie
and
culture.
yes, people reading
with.
Siddhartha on the beach as the sun came up, and in a whole.
So was that what you wrote about for the article for Context?
I wrote about the natural beauty and the fascination of that culture still being thriving.
It's still thriving.
So my wife is Japanese, and every year in Dharamsala she studied yoga with an Indian teacher. And lo and behold, her Indian teacher from Dharamsala was there in Goa teaching during the winter. So we even got to see my Japanese wife's Dharamsala.
So everybody goes there.
Time.
It's not
Yes.
definitely not for a spiritual awakening. Goa isn't.
Yes.
But it awakens something else in people.
I think it awakens a creative spirit. You're still away from the hurly-burly and from distractions of the world. And I think that therefore inspires thoughts about different ways of living. So I was surprised so many writer friends of mine are there. Amitav Ghosh was there.
Yes.
Siddharth Sanghvi was not far away. And I understand why creative people would gravitate towards Goa, because they can step out of the madness and chaos of Bombay or wherever and clear their heads and come up with something beautiful.
So where did you do most of your writing? Now, your books are not just about travel.
No.
It goes deep into culture and you kind of marry spirituality, meditation, and travel. So where did you write most of your books?
I do most of my writing in my little apartment in Japan.
That's now.
That's now. But I've been there 32 years. So I've been writing the last 11 books in this little space. The desk is a third the size of this table, but I don't speak much Japanese. I can't watch TV, I can't eavesdrop, so it's a very good place for really concentrating. So, and as you know, my 2 most recent books are about Japan, so it was an interesting challenge to write about Japan while sitting in Japan, because every now and then I'd take a break and I'd go down to the grocery shop to buy some sweets, and as soon as I'd come back, I'd have 10 more pages I had to write because of all the interesting things I saw.
That's sheer discipline.
Yeah, I'm good at the discipline part, but I'm bad at knowing when to end. Okay? Yes, there's always more to write.
I hope it never ends because you're such a great writer.
Thank you.
Zach, my husband, and I have been reading you for the longest time.
Oh, I really appreciate it.
And for me, it's like a dream come true because I'm not about Brad Pitt or anybody else. I mean, meeting you is akin to that for some other
I'm so
person.
touched. Thank
Now,
you.
You've also met Leonard Cohen, as
Yes.
you were talking about, and the Dalai Lama, and you've spent such a lot of time with them. So, what kind of conversations do you have when you're with them, away from your books?
Leonard Cohen was very interested in talking about religion.
Yes.
And I think that's because he was a man of the world. And the Dalai Lama, because he's a full-time monk, is very interested in talking about the world. And what's going on in Japan? What's the problem happening in the United States? Whenever I go into the Dalai Lama's room at 8:30 in the morning, his hotel room, the first thing I always see is a newspaper. So he follows the news more closely than most journalists do. The second thing I see is a telescope, because wherever he goes, he takes a telescope because the heavens look a little different when he's in Yokohama or Paris or New York.
Really?
So he's aware that every day he can see the sky from a different angle, which is a lovely thing to be aware of.
And how have they enriched your life?
I think the Dalai Lama has taught me how to listen. We think of him as a great speaker, but I'm very touched. I travel with him every year across Japan. A little 6-year-old girl will come up to him and he'll listen to that girl as if she were the Buddha. He'll bring all his attention to her. And then the next day, at a big public lecture, he'll cite what he learned from the little girl. I also learned, of course, modesty. I mean, the great gift of the Dalai Lama is to make himself the same as everybody else. And people are usually intimidated before they see him. And then he'll tickle them or pull their ponytail.
Yes, he has this mischievous.
Yes. Which is a way of humanizing himself. And
Yes.
you suddenly feel, actually, I'm talking to my oldest friend. I'm not talking to the head of Tibetan Buddhism or an incarnate God. And Leonard Cohen, too, the thing that most moved me, I first met him when he was a monk at the age of 61. And I thought, here's Leonard Cohen, he could be doing anything he wants anywhere in the world. And he's chosen to give himself to this very rigorous practice. The week I visited him, he was spending 7 days, 7 nights, unbroken meditation. And the rest of the time he's just shoveling snow and scrubbing floors and driving an elderly Japanese teacher to the doctor. Menial labor. And here's Leonard Cohen, who's on top of the world, and he's chosen to give himself to this practice of humility and labor, really hard labor.
But they have obviously made a huge impression on you.
Yes.
Because as I'm talking to you, it's like I'm talking to an old friend.
Good.
I was intimidated initially. I
Oh.
said, what am I going to say to him? All the time I have only read him. And you've been to these fantastic places all over the world. But right now, you brought a certain intimacy to this conversation.
Oh, what a compliment. Thank you.
Yes, indeed.
Thank you.
And it doesn't feel like I'm talking to one of the greatest travel writers. I don't even want to say you are a travel writer only, because you're much more than that. Now, let's talk about Autumn Light. I did have the pleasure of reading that book.
Thank you.
In my head, I know what path you walked and the pitfalls.
Yes, you will know, yes.
Because you painted it so beautifully. Now, this not only explores Japanese history and culture, it's a moving meditation on impermanence, which is what the whole thing, and mortality and grief. Now, you've written that autumn makes the least of us philosophical. How so?
As the days get colder and shorter and darker, I think all of us inevitably begin to think, when will spring come? What if we never see spring? What does, at the end, everything's going to end at some point.
Yes.
And I think autumn brings that home amidst the beauty of the autumn, because it's more beautiful than winter often, but it's got this wistful undercurrent.